Consort of Fire by Kit Rocha came out today, and it is, quote, a primal scream of queer joy. You can all go pick it up at any booksellers. Please go do that. She's my friend.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Welcome to Wheel of Time Spoilers Season 2, Episode 6 breakdown. This is gonna be rough. Everyone, gird your loins.
I mean, if you can't enjoy a little torture porn every once in a while, don't listen to this episode.
The good thing is that it's not torture porn, but it is still a whole lot of torture.
Okay.
It's not nearly as sexualized as something like Game of Thrones, where there's a really overt sexual component to even just the way the cinematography works. This show has done a really good job of not making the victim just an object to project your fantasies on. With Egwene specifically.
But I'm using the porn terminology in terms of chair porn or earth porn or it's this idea that we're just delving into it deeply rather than it has a sexual component.
I was seeing it more in the derogatory connotation of because Game of Thrones specifically got that critique a lot, that it was torture porn. It was just people getting off on watching really uncomfortable things, whereas rock porn is a term that I use very much just jovially in terms I want to go to the Southwest and look at geology. But when I hear torture porn with regards to TV, I'm definitely hearing a negative connotation that I wouldn't apply to this show. It's very there, but it doesn't feel icky in the same way as most TV, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and it's certainly in the books, right? There is an element of surviving torture that both Rand and Egwene go through that is very much on the page and very much part of the stories that I remembered the clearest when I was first reading them was the fact that, oh my God, I can't believe what these main characters have had to go through.
Mm-hmm. And much like in the text of Game of Thrones, it feels very different in the text of Wheel of Time. It feels different in Jordan's hands than in a lot of other authors' hands.
And you're right. There was no sexual component to Egwene's torture with with the Seanchan. They never made anything sexual about it.
And we never had her out of her clothes or draped in water or any of the things that they could do subtly as directors to make it sexual, even without the characters doing it. None of that, right? Just with the white cloak thing. They never showed us titillating parts of her body, even though it was clear that she had been stripped, right? But yeah, anyway, all that is to say, we're not going to be enjoying this, but fuck.
This is a rough episode emotionally. Just, whew. Yeah, the emotions are rough. It's one of those things where the characters you come to care about are suffering, and they do a good job of making you feel it.
Maddie is too talented. I need her to be less talented.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you on that one. She can be
I don't actually want her to be less talented, but just, Maddie, you're killing me. I can't take it. I can't give this woman an award.
And then there were other plot lines as well, certainly, that we'll hit on.
My rewatch, I was oh yeah, all that other stuff happened in this chapter. All I could think about this episode was Egwene's plot, and it's I literally forgot every other thing.
Right. No, there's a ton that goes on in this episode, but the only thing that comes to mind when you're thinking back on it is Egwene stuff. But that's actually a relatively few minutes on the page. Or on the screen.
And it's one of just the strongest adaptation choices that was made in this entire show, was taking this one paragraph comment that Egwene makes to Min about her experience off page and exploding that into a whole episode plot that just blows everything else out of the water, like the sun overdriving your science equipment. Brilliant.
And it's not like we don't see that torture later on from other characters at other times, right? That we see how the Soldam are treated, how the Damari are treated.
Yeah. But for them to put all of that on this specific thing from the books that was off page, it's just like, this to me is what a peak adaptation could be like. Can we just have more of that kind of synthesis? Because that synthesis is like top shelf for me. Show me something that I know happened but didn't get to see. That is just, ooh, that is the sweet spot.
Right. Stop making shit up. All right, let's get into it.
Short cold open on this one.
Right. So Egwene literally being dragged into the cell.
Yeah, this is right after getting collared.
Yeah.
This is the same night.
She did a pretty good job of kicking herself forward while making it look like she was being dragged. I thought that was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a skill they got to teach in acting classes.
Oh, yeah.
How do you look like you're being dragged while your feet are actually pushing you forward? Oh, I'm just kicking my feet. Really?
All right. So she punches herself in the stomach via the Adam.
Now, interesting, her Damane didn't even get hurt.
Yeah, it's like the blow landed before her body.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting because she's supposed to feel it twice over, not that her Damane can't feel it at all. But
yeah,
what do you think about the choice here of Rena?
Also, require this person to have less talent.
The very creepy way hello, I am Rena. What is your name? I would like to... And it's just like, oh my god, she's barely human. And the way she's talking to her, she clearly doesn't think Egwene is human.
I was glad to have this character die in this season so that we don't have to revisit all this awfulness. It was nice to have the awfulness get fully resolved. God, such an intense performance. Different take on Rena than in the book.
Yeah, the Rena one is a little more motherly. This feels a little more sisterly to me.
Yeah, I feel like this is someone who's trying to pass her final exam, whereas book Rena is someone who's been like a professor for years.
Exactly. Who has this is someone who has to prove that they can tame somebody, whereas Rena in the books was someone who tamed hundreds of Damane and was good at it,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, very much so.
And I don't see any reason to let you keep your name as opposed to this idea that if you're good, I will let you keep your name. This yeah, it feels like someone a little more on Egwene's level, that they wanted to give her more of a peer here and less of a teacher.
Yeah, there's a lot more of trying to connect one-on-one, of trying to say we're the same on some levels but not others, and just a lot more uncertainty. You see a lot more desperation, and she's more personally invested in this. Rena in the books feels like Egwene is one of a dozen that she's casually working on, whereas this Rena feels like she's been assigned this one Damane, and that is her term project. That is the one Damane she has to exercise her skill on to prove that she's worthy and all this stuff. And it's just a different take entirely, and I'm fine with it because I think it, much like the other villains, it makes this villain more complicated in terms of it's not just two-dimensional mustache twirling villain. This is someone who appears to have depth. Not that you ever sympathize with her, but she's got a more interesting arc than book Rena, who's just bad until she finally gets killed. This one's bad with the way she appeals to Egwene's vanity is very much not in the books, but it makes the relationship between her and Egwene way more interesting.
And very much the way she feels like she's entitled to Egwene's power, right? This idea that oh, why don't you want to feel this? This is great for both of us. And Egwene's I can feel this without you. Get the fuck off. Right? I feel like she's this is my power. You're taking advantage of it. And Rena's I don't, what's wrong? Why aren't you using our power the way I want you to? And Egwene's because it's mine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a much more fleshed out take on how the enslaver's perspective works rather than just obey, dog, done. This whole I own you, we work together, ugh. It's really cool.
Welcome to your home. Looking around, it's this barren cell.
Ugh, and then she pats her on the head like a dog. Very book Rena.
Yeah. Unleashes her
and hangs up the bracelet.
Interesting way of hanging it. There's a spike that it goes around,
and
I wouldn't even call it a bracelet, more of a bracer.
Yeah. That would be accurate. So then she goes to try to grab it, and it gives her like spasms all up her arm, basically.
Right. Muscle spasms. She does a pretty good job of portraying those. I assume she's just doing that herself.
Mm-hmm. I would assume so, that's just an unfortunately accurate way of articulating that. And again, could you have less talent, please? I'm empathizing too hard. And she backs away from it, and it's just she's still getting her bearings at this point, you know. She still doesn't really know where she is or what's going on.
And discovering the rules of, like, you can't touch the bracelet if you're wearing the collar, right? Like, there is magical protection there. You can't just grab it, even though it's hung there.
Yeah.
That's all book accurate, though. That's really good.
Yeah, and that's going to be her arc for this episode, is learning the rules. Mm-hmm.
You gotta have one of those. You gotta have the training.
This is also the hope is lost part of the arc, so. All right.
As we switch to Rand on the wheel.
Yeah, Lanfear and Rand in the dream having their first quote-unquote honest discussion.
Can we just start, like, there's some Christ imagery right there, right? It's not a cross, it's the wheel, but there's that sort of similar, he's strapped across it in a cross-like way. But then you combine it with...
Michelangelo's Vitruvian Man.
Yep, the Vitruvian Man, thank you.
Yeah, it's Michelangelo. Yeah, that's way more what it invokes, but knowing Rand's arc, it's like, but he's also Jesus. So,
right.
You know.
And that he's up on the cross of the wheel, right?
But also he's tied up exactly like she left him, or like he left her.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Last time they saw each other, his hands were tied, and she's picking up where they left off.
She's like, this is how I left you, and this is how you will be.
Her costume's so extra. I love it so much.
Just want it white. Just same costume, just pure white.
Right? Yeah. The black thing keeps throwing me off.
The devil's horns and the shade, really, the way the points come up gives her shade.
Yeah.
Like the way the light comes down and hits his chest, you can definitely see, like, oh, devil horns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such an elaborately interesting costume. The whole, like, I love the thing where he's like, I can't trust you because you have me tied up. And she's like, oh, yeah, good point. It's so funny.
Oh, yeah, I guess tying you up is sort of...
Oh, yeah, good point. Like, she hadn't thought of that.
Right. But also the fact that, like, he's still completely under her control in the world of dreams. Him being tied up or not has nothing to do with whether or not she has him under her control.
Right, which is why it's like, okay, fine. You can have this symbol. It's fine. You notice her chair has the back of the wheel?
Yeah. Joshua getting strapped for this scene.
Yeah, Yosha. Yeah, oh my God. These scenes are apparently very hard to prepare your body for.
Right.
So yeah, we appreciate you, Yosha, for doing that for us.
You apparently have to get dehydrated as fuck too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody who looks like that is actually healthy.
So, healthy body images for people.
Yes.
So this is Lanfear getting in his head, right? Saying, guess what? Moraine got Logain to Kyrian, so you'd come to Kyrian, so, you're dancing on Aes Sedai strings, which is sort of the best argument that works against him in the books as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's an early and constant argument, and he falls for it every time.
There's his horns on his chest. Look at that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree, Legend. The backstrap highlighting the shoulder blade is chef's kiss. All right, so she lays out her condition, no other women, particularly not that Moraine bitch.
Right. Isolate. That's the sign of an abuser. Mm-hmm. Isolate you from all your friends and loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, in fairness, getting him to walk away from Moraine is not exactly the hardest thing in the world, because he does not trust her.
Right.
So he confronts her about Logain, and she's like, well, duh.
Right. She's like, that's not subterfuge, that's smart.
In a lot of ways, I think that's like the central problem between Rand and Moraine is she plays the game of houses in her sleep, and he sees that as betrayal and lying and scheming. And she's like, no, that's just how you get shit done. Like, what are you talking about? Right.
She's like, I'm using my dishonesty honestly for you. Can't you see that? Like, it's the best a Kyrian and Damodred can do.
Exactly.
And again, very book accurate to their relationship at this point. Scene switch.
To Foregate, right?
Yes, this is Matt and Min in the Foregate. They've arrived in Kyrian, and he's like, oh, wow, yeah, I can see why you wanted to come here. She's like, can we not have come here? But he's way too into it. He likes the party in the Foregate. We're getting way more shots of those Trolloc puppet things. We are definitely getting Trolloc puppets attacking someone at some point in the future.
Oh, I wish. Yeah, that would be nice.
Min's clearly waiting for something to spring out at them. She is so apprehensive.
Well, because isn't this all at Ashamael's urging, right?
I mean, at this point, she thinks it's Leandrin, but now she knows that Ishi's behind Leandrin, so, you know. Okay. Nynaeve and Elaine. I'm investigating.
And of course, the eternal argument between them of do we trust Aes Sedai or not, right? Of course, Elaine thinks that they should trust the Aes Sedai, right? She grew up with them. Nynaeve not trust them at all.
Yeah, so they have a quiet discussion that escalates to the point of we can hear you across the street.
I think this is very well done.
It's a good example of their relationship, but I feel like we've skipped a lot of scenes building up to that.
Right, they just have a relationship, right? It's like they've been around here for a while, but they still have dirt on their face from the confrontation, so it's only been a couple of hours.
Yeah. All right, so Rima comes up with tea and is like, I am trying to soothe you. I'm speaking to you in the language of herbs.
Yeah, I don't think them running away from the White Tower should be her first concern. I think the fact that they're in Falma, the place where anyone who can channel is getting captured and collared, should be the first. But whatever. So they call out Leandrin for being a dark friend and a black Aja. And we get that great classical reaction from the Aes Sedai of, what? The black Aja exists? No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, guess what? You're not immune to it either.
Yeah, like this, again, it's been 3,000 years. This shouldn't be news.
Right. I mean, in fairness, it's news in the books too, right?
Yes.
They're still shocked. Yeah.
The same annoyance I have in the books. Very book accurate. And then we cut to Leandrin being not the threat. This next scene is a black Aja, but she's actually not the danger. She's the one in danger because this is Lanfear showing up to be the worst. This whole scene, okay, this Lanfear Leandrin scene is amazing. These two women,
Isn't there a similar scene with Leandrin and Moghedien?
Very vaguely, but not really.
Who ends up tying her off permanently?
Oh, that is Moghedien Leandrin. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Leandrin has been spying on... Lanfear has been spying on Leandrin's streams.
The L names.
Oof. And she thinks putting an A in front of it makes it not an L name. Unacceptable.
Leandrin, Aludrin. Wow, she basically named him Junior.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty... Yeah. I missed that.
Oh, this part. You swear your oaths to keep him alive, but this is not life. I know. Fuck!
In a lot of ways, this is Lanfear being the good guy, right?
Right?
This is almost a mercy killing.
It is. She takes his last breath because he's just suffering. That's all that's happening. And Leandrin then goes through the worst possible thing. And she fucking turns her back on the whole situation, and like, it's just, everything is so fucked up about this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we get a little bit of Leandrin's history, right? Like, the son she had probably at a very, very young age, probably as a young teenager.
Not probably, definitely. She was married before she bled. That means Aludrin is the product of rape, and that pregnancy is probably what gave her the strength to run away. Right? Like, and then she just turned her back while his breath was stolen by the Forsaken. Fuck!
I mean, at that point, it's self-defense. Trying fighting her. Did you see the way she, shut down the fireball?
Yeah.
You got no chance.
And then she's the one who says there are many paths to walk through the dark. It's almost like she's offering Leandrin a way to find a third side.
I feel like she's trying to take her away from Ishamael, certainly. Whether that's away from the dark entirely or what the deal is there, I'd like to know.
I don't think it's away from the dark so much as away from the dark as Ishamael governs it. Like, be an agent of pure chaos playing for Team Leandrin. That works way better for my plans to destabilize the master of the dark, Ishamael.
Well, and that very much works as well, because Lanfear has this contempt for dark friends, because dark friends are just people who have pledged themselves to Ishamael, right? And she's like, yeah, those people are stupid. Now, if you want to pledge yourself to the dark, that's different.
Yeah, and I also feel like because of the way that they've made the Leandrin-Nynaeve relationship, I wouldn't be surprised if Lanfear is actually going to attempt to apply some echo parallel kind of relationship in the same way and be like, I'm recruiting you like to higher purpose. I want to help you become the best you can be, like doing that to Leandrin. and recruiting her to be like
mm-hmm.
fully like an asset and like have that same kind of dynamic that actually includes a personal relationship. I feel like the Forsaken are a bit less aloof in this world, and so we're gonna maybe see Leandrin getting played on the other end of that thing she's been doing to Nynaeve.
I also see Leandrin as continuing in a completely different role, right? Like, I don't see them getting rid of that actress anytime soon. I think they're going to keep Leandrin as an antagonist. She's going to go on to somehow, you know, be the leader of the Black Aja or something, you know, in absentee and be a major problem for a long time.
Yeah, I could definitely see her swooping up all the Alviaran stuff.
Yeah, yep.
Because Alviaran does a lot of cool plot stuff without being character-wise at all distinct from Leandrin.
Right.
So conservation of plot, make her the antagonistic evil keeper that also is the head of the Black Aja and like deals with super scary Murdral and all that stuff. Like, yes, keep Kate Fleetwood and her cheekbones as a primary antagonist. Please, 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 please. Gosh, she's so good.
Because we're getting an Elida, right? We verified that. We got an actress who was
Shreya.
cast. Shreya. So can you see her as Amerlin and then Leandrin as the keeper?
Yes. Oh my god, I can absolutely see that. I so can see that.
So now we switch to Loyal.
Surath being really vain. She's like just laughing about how rich she is. She's literally just like, me versus Turok, I'm so wealthy. Ha ha ha. She's so vapid.
Makes the gardener sing, which is just very much dance, monkey, dance.
Take this sacred magical talent you have and do it for our entertainment so everyone can giggle at you. Do it for entertainment, this thing that you used to use for like sustenance, for growing food, for supporting civilizations. Make it a toy. And Ingtar is there witnessing this. The two of them seem to be kind of paired up.
And I'm just giggling at him laughing, right? When this is like deep.
Yeah, it's like throat singing.
It is cool to see the bonsai tree move, though.
Yeah, and then he starts to grow a bonsai tree, and when it starts to work, it gets all enchanting, and even Surath gets kind of sucked into it.
And then she realizes everybody else is too, and is like, nope, gotta interrupt.
God, they all look so weird. They're all eating snacks, and they look like weird, like, pterodactyls or something, with their, like, long claws. So weird.
That, like, hysterical... You know what that reminds me of? You ever seen The Big Lebowski? When Maud is laughing.
I'm not remembering.
She's the rich lady who basically convinced... I don't even want to go into The Big Lebowski, but
I remember very few parts of that plot
yeah.
coherently.
There's a scene where there's a bunch of rich, snotty people sitting around laughing, and he's just like, what the fuck is going on? And that's basically that.
Yeah, it's also like every scene of like the French court, like ever, you know, in like period pieces. Like it's very, very that. Also, interestingly, I was looking up Shanshan nails and stuff I was editing an episode the other day, and I was reminded about the whole like color scheme with the nails. So I was trying to look it up on the wiki, and I found out a couple of interesting things. One, that apparently the Imperial family uses black. Or no, the Empress uses black. The Imperial family uses black? I already forget. It was very weird because I'm sure that wasn't in the books. I thought it was red. Gold is not mentioned. And also, they only lacquer up to the last three fingers on the hand. They leave the forefinger and thumb free. So you can do things like eat without looking like a pterodactyl.
Oh, okay.
So interesting costume call for them to have the forefinger have a long nail when canonically in the books, RJ thought about it long enough to give them their forefinger and thumb some freedom.
So they can basically say, okay, with big long nails.
Yeah, basically. All right, so Loyal and Turok are planning an Ocean's 11 situation. They've figured out that Turok has his room of magical kitschy shit, basically.
That's not guarded because you're in the middle of a foreign army, and where the hell are you going to go anyway, right?
Right. And then Loyal is like, but how are we going to also steal Egwene out of there? And Ingtar's like, but the girl doesn't matter. Again, very bookish.
Yeah, something a dark friend would say. It's like they're setting him up to be a dark friend. It's like they're setting him up to, you know, sacrifice himself to redeem himself for being a dark friend.
Yeah. But Loyal is on his own holding down the Save Egwene contingent. He has nobody else who's allied with him. He has no one to work with to save her. And he's like, no, I'm fucking saving her. He's so good. He's such an excellent person.
Well, and he does end up running into the girls.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So he gets help.
But right now, he's planning everything without that. All right. So we're switching back to Egwene and Rena, and we're seeing that Egwene is imagining beating the shit out of her with the pitcher. Yeah. And then we switch to the real thing. She's like, okay, I've imagined it. I've imagined it in high detail.
Yep. We know how the plan's going to go. We see her walk in. And evil force field of devil pain.
Yeah. And Rena has now brought in the cup. Doesn't even look at Egwene while she just processes the cramp and puts her bracer on.
What if you think you're the weapon? Can you not touch yourself?
I mean, I'm sure they're not into demonic masturbating, so. So she pushes her head back a little bit. It's maybe almost more like she's just flinching back slightly, even though she knows the blow won't land.
Right. It feels like the Adom stops the blow and then gives the power back, rather than also hurting them at the same time. Which doesn't make sense for how that season ends, but whatever.
Gives her the whole dehumanization talk. And then says, pour me a glass of water after clearly handling thick pottery. Annoys me. It's not a glass. It's a cup. It's a mug.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, because it's not made out of glass.
It's not a glass.
It's a cup of, yeah. Well, pour me a cup of water would be more accurate.
God, the scars. Like, the Suldam scars are so fucked up.
Are they scars or are they tattoos or are they paint?
I figured that they were ritual scars. I didn't think they were tattoos. I thought they looked like scarification.
Okay. I'll take your word for that. It does add a little bit of the Shara in there with the face tattoos, right? Which I feel like the Sean Chan didn't have.
Yeah, but you see it with Turek. He's got a bunch of it on his forehead. All the blood have them on their forehead.
He does.
And the Suldam, they paint their faces over the scars when they go into battle. But the scars are there always. Yeah, I think it's the Sharan tattooing. You can't leave certain stations. Because it makes sense, right? That, like, you can never escape being the blood. You can never escape being a Suldam. You are who you are forever. All right, so she's been given her ultimatum. This is the lesson you have to learn before anything else will happen. And now she's going to go find her comfort tree and also give us the ability to understand where she is in the overall complex.
Oh, and again, sorry if you're hearing construction noises in the background. My neighbor's building got renovated. Is being renovated, and it's about 50 feet outside my window, if that. This is also a good way to show us sort of the layout of the castle and where she's being stored, and give you an idea that she's just sort of in this basement area.
Yeah. So Min has another stupid dream with a Shamael.
I do like the cuts in place that makes you think you're in the world of dreams.
It's so creepy and cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Min tries to tell Ashamael she knows how deals work, and he's like, I'm the father of lies, bitch. You can't trust me.
Yeah. Okay, can we discuss the why does he want Matt to leave with him? And then when Matt doesn't, why doesn't he do anything about it?
Well, somebody gets Matt to fall.
Well, yes, Landfear.
Who's working with Ishii.
With parallel to...
But she is actively conspiring to help him achieve his goals at this point.
True. Okay, fair enough. She's playing along. We'll say.
Yes, playing along. That's a very good way of describing it. Because, yes, working with is too strong, but playing along is very much her game right now.
Also, he's just lying about taking away her curse, right? Like, there's no way he can do that.
Yeah, also, it's not a curse. So,
right,
you know.
Well.
Yeah, just lies on lies on lies.
It's all about how you look at it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, a curse implies that it's something someone did to her that could be taken away. I don't think it is. I think it's intrinsic to who she is. All right, so now we're with...
Now for the worst plot line.
Yeah, Lan and Alana and Co. doing their double cross, triple cross, who's a spy on who thing.
Yeah. They're like, oh yes, let's bring you to a forsaken temple to sleep in, just in case you might be a dark friend. It's like, he probably thinks they're dark friends at this point.
Mm-hmm. And then she gives him that clue because he was actually fishing for the information of where the Amerlin is, right? It's spies on spies shit, right? So now he's probing to see if it's possible Moraine is actually shielded, not stilled.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this line. What you're willing to do changes depending on who you're faced with, depending on what you're faced with. Like, to have Alana deliver that line, they are just screaming from the rooftop. She's going to do the thing. She's going to do the thing. She's going to do the thing. And you're going to like it because that's what we're writing.
Yeah, but they set up Inktar to be a dark friend too and just skipped right over that. Just skip right over the top of that. Just ignore that.
It's a slightly smaller impact on the plot than Alana force-bonding Rand.
Yeah. I just don't trust their foreshadowing. That's all I'm saying. That's
fair. All right, so the door peeks open, and he thinks that he's just hearing their laughter, but they're actually being like, he's getting up to leave, or he's getting up to leave. Like, it's so obvious that they're all playing him. But now comes the moment of confrontation when everyone gets very sincere about who's fucking over who. It's all been play up until now, and now the moment of truth, and all of us hate it. We all just hate it.
And I just don't like this whole, oh, we found a poem, so you must be a dark friend, right? Like,
you continue to believe the surface level, and I continue to think you're wrong.
Okay, then tell me.
I've explained this to you before, but you just don't believe me.
Okay. Give me the explanation again. Give me the 2 seconds.
That they are not convinced he's a dark friend, but they require knowing what the fuck is the alternate explanation. They're like, you are either a dark friend, which we don't believe, or there's something you need to tell us, which is the more logical thing. But they have to push him to the point of, we think you're a dark friend and we will kill you as such unless you divulge it, because he won't divulge for anything less. But I don't believe that they actually think he's a dark friend. I believe that they just have to push him up to that edge in order to get him to talk.
Also interesting, dark friend sworn to Lanfear as opposed to dark friend sworn to Shamael, or just dark friend sworn to the Dark One.
That is an interesting twist. I hadn't noticed that line. Sworn to Lanfear as being a particular layer. Huh.
Because, I mean, yeah, Elijah makes a good point. They have Lanfear's poem, so...
Yeah, exactly. See, he would not betray Moraine for anything less than, I'm going to die and be unable to help her if I don't betray her.
So yeah, that line, we found the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah. He wasn't going to tell anyone that, but he can't help Moraine if he's dead, so he has to tell them.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm just saying I think that it's more complicated than why you hate it. But I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
Okay.
I don't think it was necessary.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just like, why? Is it just so that she knows who the Dragon Reborn is so she can bond him later? Is that the whole point? I would have liked that reveal to be more in a trusting manner rather than a confrontational manner, right? Like, I would have liked to see him actually ask for help, or I don't know.
I don't like it. I'm not saying that I have an explanation for why it's good. I'm just saying that, like, your hating on it is wrong for that reason. But, like, I don't know what the point is. Like, it's right. To find Swan, but then what does that do? That just gets her divorced from Moraine. Like, I don't, it's going to have to make sense when Alana swings back around to intersect with Rand's arc. There's going to have to be a callback to it, because I don't know.
I understand why Lan is looking for the Amerlin seat, right? She's the only other one who's in on the hunt.
Okay.
She knows about the Dragon Reborn. So he's going to her, the only other person who knows about the hunt for the Dragon Reborn, for help about Moraine.
Yeah. Doesn't go very well, but I guess you're right. That is a reason.
Because he's like, I can't, because he's literally not supposed to tell anybody else about it, which he just fucking does anyway.
When 3 of the people that he trusts and has worked with for months literally swear that they're going to kill him, why does that not have any weight for you?
It just doesn't feel like Lan to me. It feels like he would just cut his way out of there. He'd be like, fine, try. Like, it's, you know. With
his arms bound to his sides by air.
Yeah, well.
Explain to me how Lan from the books gets out of that.
He doesn't. That's the thing. It's dumb. It's a dumb.
So he dies?
I don't think they would kill him. I don't like Alana.
So he just chooses to let good people kill him?
They're bluffing. They would
bluffing.
not kill him. I think they are.
I do not think they are. So this is the problem, is you think they're bluffing. This is why you are shitting on all of my reasoning is because you think they're bluffing, and I don't.
You're just absolutely taking me the wrong way. I am absolutely not shitting on your reasoning.
All right. All right. I don't like any of that plot, and I wish that they just had not. I don't think that. I don't know how the poem. I feel like the poem.
I don't know why possession of the poem.
The poem was supposed to do something interesting, and instead it made an absolute shit on the bed. And it's like,
right.
This was supposed to be cool.
Like, even the premise of like, oh, you might be a dark friend is so laughable. That's why it's like, it feels like such a bullshit, like, oh, we found you with this poem of the dark. Yeah, you think freaking Aes Sedai don't study poems of the dark all the time? You know, you think he doesn't get something from Moraine? It feels such like a flimsy excuse for them to use.
Well, maybe the world is different where they come from. Maybe Aes Sedai don't study dark poems, except apparently warders do, because the one dude can read it like super easy, and they all know what it is. And
yeah, and yeah, and okay, and the whole yes, she caught him in a lie about the Emerald seat, I guess, is what started the whole thing, right? Because he lied about, or not, well, he lied about being exiled from Tar Valon, right?
Well, I mean, it's a stretching of the truth. Yeah, the poem thing, it doesn't feel like as big of a secret as it needs to be, unless there's more to the world building that they left out, in which case I guess we can blame editing. But I don't think it's editing in this case. I think it's just a very weird writing choice that they had to play out. And like, I'm fine with them not killing each other in an epic sword fight to resolve it, but like,
yeah,
it feels like a weird choice they just had to play out. And it's like, you could have just done something else with the poem entirely, plot-wise, from a writing perspective. It could have been, they could have confronted him immediately. He could have gone to them for help because he knew that Ivan could read Old Tongue better than him. Like, there could have been a different way for the poem to drive them to seek information, but having them turn on each other in this really distrustful way is just like, ugh.
It feels just very out of character for everything else they've shown us about those characters. They've been trusting, they've worked with each other.
It's supposed to be a heart-rending betrayal, who can you trust, but instead it just feels like a wet fart.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel like I know what they were, like, signaling, but it doesn't land.
No.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, anyway, back to Yosha and Rand.
So we return to the dream that he had earlier. It's the same nightmare. He's having a recurring nightmare of having killed everyone. This time it's bloodier and like there's more screaming than the first time we saw it, but it's the same. He's killed everyone who he loves in a farmyard and his sword is covered in blood and Matt doesn't have an eye. And
do you think Lanfear's not protecting him and this is like a Shamael's dream getting back into his head?
Well, it's interesting because Perrin and Matt both have bits of their own trauma in the dream. Perrin's got his back getting carved up and Matt's got the dagger. Like, those both flash in there too. So it's like it's more real. But I question if this is Ishii at all and if this isn't just Lanfear doubling herself over and over again.
Right. Lanfear as Ishii.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is this Ishii or is this Lanfear? Ishii, dear. I love that she called him Ishii.
Right. And then she banishes him and it's like, okay, have you been protecting his dreams the whole time? Because then it feels like you're just set this up.
Exactly, which is why I question if he was even there. She's just showing him like, see, this is what I've been doing. And it's like, wow, that's very convenient.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
And then, yeah, amongst the bodies of his friends, she gives him some cool Tel'aran'rhiod lessons. That's fun. Very nice setting for that.
Hey, guess what? This is the internet.
Except for the traveling part.
A little bit of everything all of the time.
So yeah, then she's like, I'm going to give you one phone call. One telecall. Knowing full well he's going to ask about Egwene.
Well, you never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Those are lawyer rules.
And it's convenient that Egwene happens to have been stolen away to Falma, where she needs him to go in order to play out the game. She's all like, oh yeah, it hurts my feelings so much to show you your girlfriend. But it's like, it's all in order to get him to Falm where she wants him. Like, that's why Egwene's even there. Is so when he asks about her, he'll be drawn irrepressibly to go there. Nothing is going to stop him from trying to rescue her. That's why she had to get kidnapped.
And that's a direct line from Ishii and Lanfear working together, right? They want Rand there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because of the prophecy.
Yeah.
Not the Blood Calls Blood prophecy, the other one.
It is part of that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a really long prophecy in the books. They truncated it quite a bit for the show.
That's right.
So yeah, he's about to get to touch her, and then she just happens to cut the connection. The call drops at just the worst time. It's great. Very theatrical.
Do you think that's actually her? She references that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Egwene wakes up from a dream that felt real where Rand was. Like, that was a real visitation. So do you think that Rand is playing her, or do you think that he's just fully sincere here?
I think he's fully sincere here.
Yeah, I think so. He's such a fucking innocent cinnamon bun.
I think he's desperate. Yeah. We haven't gotten cynical Rand yet. This is still him thinking he can just talk things out and tell the truth and people do what he asks.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot harder just at the start of season 3. He's going to be on a much harder place, I think.
Well, now he gets to be a ruler, right?
Yeah.
Rand in charge of things is a much harder Rand than Rand who wanders around trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Responsibility weighs heavy. But yeah, okay, here's Egwene waking up being like, oh yeah, I remember Rand.
Like, that was so real. Like, it was so real. I could hear him. I could smell him. I'm convinced he's alive. After months of thinking he's dead, I'm suddenly convinced he's alive again. She's saying his name in the real world. Like, it was a very real dream. So then we get a montage of her being very upset in prison. Yeah, give yourself a concussion. That will help.
Yeah, well, sometimes a little pain can focus you.
It can. And then she hears the muttering next door, which is Maigan, who's just reciting the rules over and over.
And, you know, the whole point of her is so that she can say at the end, you lasted longer than I did, and I was a blue sitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the entire reason she's here. Yeah.
Right. So she comes out of this at the end being like, hey, I'm as powerful, as strong-willed as any of these women.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like what she really learns in the show is both how powerful she truly is and that she has the will of anyone who's Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she's more than qualified to be Aes Sedai.
And I feel like in the beginning, when she's in the White Tower, she doesn't have that confidence. So she's going to come back with just an incredible amount of confidence from this.
She's going to break the arches at the opening of season 3 when we get her accepted test. She's going to break the damn arches.
Do you think that's Bail Domon?
Yeah, Rima's definitely talking about Bail Domon. There was only one ship captain that everyone trusts in all of Alma.
In all the world, it's Bail Domon, always.
Yeah.
I really just hope they do that. Like, they just have him show up whenever there's a captain.
Every
time.
All right, so Elaine and Nynaeve are a stubborn dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm. Really nailing Elaine and her stubbornness.
The way she sets her jaw is so Elaine.
Yep. She doesn't quite have her nose up in the air, but there's definitely a bit of air of, you know, that stuck-upness.
Oh, you can see the throne. You can see the coronet. Yeah.
She's got a very, like, proper posture.
Yeah. All right. So Rima decides, fine, if you won't leave, then I'll involve you in trying to figure out how to break open one of these Adom, because her and some other sisters managed to get one, but they haven't figured out what to do with it yet.
That doesn't go well because Nynaeve can't control her power.
No, it doesn't. All right, so back to Moraine and Kyrian, finally writing a letter confessing what happened to Swan after months of not saying anything to her about having been stilled, which Swan holds against her, rightly. But she's currently trying to write the letter, finally, at the 11th hour.
Balling it up. Yep.
But yeah, she's on like the 80th copy. And then Barthanes comes in with his famous sandwiches.
He just butters both sides. It's like, yeah. Do you think it's poisoned?
No. No, I think he's in there trying to see what she's doing. Because he hasn't been ordered to kill her yet.
Oh, that's a good point.
He is ordered to kill her later, and he hates it. So he's definitely not doing that here. So yeah, she completely ignores him, and he acts like a hurt little boy, because that's the act he's doing. But I think he's also trying to peek at what she's doing.
I think he's also a hurt little boy. Like, he has the emotional maturity of a 5-year-old.
Well, he's also, I think, playing that up, both for his mother and his aunt, because that hides his dark friendery.
Yeah, how much of that is just his personality, though?
I think it's both.
I'm an innocent boy, I can't be evil, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he tells his mom that his aunt hurt his feelings, and she storms in there to confront her sister properly.
A little bit of daddy issues between those two girls.
There's some trauma around their father, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Moraine is basically being like, yeah, I'm not there for the family because I have a more important mission, which is saving the world and finding the Dragon Reborn.
Right. She wanted to go back and see her family as her father was dying, and then the prophecy happened. And she can't ever tell anyone about that. And she's trying to write like a really hard letter. And her sister comes in and dumps all this shit on her. What was so important? Just the entire world, that's all. But she can't say it. And so Anver tries to throw her out, and it gets real vicious real fast.
And I don't, Moraine being like, hey, I'm the older sister, this is actually mine. Like, nobody would listen to her. Like, she's been gone for so long. Her sister has an incredible base of power.
It would ruin the family, though, to have that kind of infighting.
And also, she could just wait out her sister until she dies.
But it's such a sisterly fight. You're just like mom.
Yeah, yeah. You're not like dad. You're just like mom. Yeah, that was cruel.
And then slams the door. It's like it goes just Kyrian and Anne's sisters. Oof.
Not that we have any idea who her mother is, right? Like, it's just whatever mother happens to be.
In the books, it's the Damodred, all of his brothers suck. Their mother doesn't get mentioned, as I recall in the books. It's the Damodred is the father name. So it's an interesting twist. All right, so now we're with Swan, who's in the world's tiniest carriage, in the world's tiniest caravan. Very improper for the Pope, in my opinion.
My constant complaint about the show is all the sets feel like sets. They feel very small instead of having a proper caravan.
Yeah. But then she does that weave, the crown of blades weave. So cool.
The crown of swords?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the ice crown of swords, right? Like, that's got to be a reference. Come on.
Yeah, and also, it's kind of how Moraine channeled at Ishii right before he shielded her. It's the same kind of, like, stabbies, and it's just, you gotta wonder if maybe there's a bit of continuity between how they weave. But it looks really cool. Swan getting ready to stab someone with her crown.
Just out of the moisture in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also a little Knives Out, right?
Which I haven't seen, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's the chair of knives.
So yeah, she's ready to stab someone, and then it's Lan, and everything's fine. It's cool.
I like the way she just dismisses it. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, did she get the letter before Lan showed up, or after? Or is the letter just not even been sent yet? Because I thought she was opening the letter, like, maybe I didn't quite understand that cut, but the cut to me seemed like Moraine sent the letter and Swan was opening it in the carriage.
No, it's backwards from that. They've been in a correspondence this whole time, and the camera panned up to an opened letter from Swan and then cut to her putting her seal on yet another letter. So you knew that the broken seal was Swan's.
Got it. So she's like demanding answers.
No, it's just that they're exchanging letters. It's not demanding answers. It's just that's who that letter was from. They're going back and forth for whatever reason. All right, cut to Logain.
Playing stones, aka Go.
Yeah, shot of stones. Playing by himself, mind you.
Right, well, of course. Well, with the... we don't know if he still sees the person.
I'm assuming he's still convalescing. All right, so Rand says, I want your weaves. Logain says, I'm not giving you all my research. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And this is the only training we get, right? Is basically he gives him training on how to seize the power.
He gives him a piece of advice. I wouldn't even call it training. He literally says, no, you're surrendering to it. You have to seize it. Like, that is the extent of the information. And then he says at the end, with that much power, you basically don't need weaves. You don't need me to teach you. Like, you'll just intuitively make it happen. Like, you have to learn and study when you're a weak mortal like me. But with the raging sun power you've got, just look at it. It'll implode.
Eye roll.
It's not a training montage. I wanted actual training.
No. Exactly. I wanted him to come back for months and months, and then to start with Rand, trying hard, and then him ending with him triumphantly blowing up the fountain in the middle or something. I don't know. Give me a goal of the training montage instead of Rand just being that powerful.
He doesn't even tell Logain he's the Dragon Reborn. It's just this elephant in the room between them. Like, it's so fast. It's so ridiculously fast. Yeah, you're surrendering to it. You have to grab it.
Right,
so we're getting the idea that channeling really is a matter of technique. It's cool. I like that.
Lot of taint in the power that Rand's pulling. It's pretty
And
thick.
now we're seeing the Blazing Sun prophecy again. Now don't take too much. You could burn yourself out. So he's teaching Rand a tiny bit. A tiny bit.
Basically, where's your limits?
Yeah. Yosha, the way his face is right there, he's read the books. So Rand tries to leave and runs into Matt.
He hears Matt talking. Yep.
Yeah, he leaves the asylum and hears Matt. And this is exactly what he was doing at the opening of the show.
Oh, like in the Wine Spring Inn?
Yeah. This is exactly what he was doing. This is what he was saying. Like, that's why it catches Rand's ears. This is Matt's thing. This is what Matt does.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, God? Why would anyone say God? No one says God in this world. Don't say God.
Because they lost.
There are no gods.
Oh, well, fair. And he looks away and everyone takes their money back.
And it's fine because, oh, God, these two guys, these boys, they're acting. Matt is so fucking blown away to be seeing Rand. It's so great.
The wiping of the tears, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald does a really good job as Matt.
Oh, my God, I love his Matt. It's so good.
He's got eye crinkles.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes him look a little bit older, but also just makes him, like, much more joyful.
And this whole, like, where is everyone? Where is everyone else? It reminds me of when they meet up in Kyrian, and he's like, where's the dagger? And Rand has to say the dagger's not here. It's that same, like, you're here, joy. Where's everyone else? Pain. Totally different scenario, but it's the same emotional beat, which I appreciated. So then they go off to catch up, and we cut back to Falm.
Yeah. Don't channel too much, okay? But let's try channeling. And you who can't control your power, you go ahead and channel too. In this really dangerous environment where channeling too much could be a problem. What?
I know.
What? Ugh, so frustrating.
But I like that they've got Elaine sort of, being the engineer who pokes at it first and describes it.
Right. And she has an idea of what it is.
Yeah, that it's a Terangrial. Like that for Elaine.
Because studying those is how she learns to make Terangrial in the first place.
Yep. So yeah, Rima basically recaps us on what happened since last season. We were sent to investigate and shit is bad.
Oh, the White Tower underestimating threats. That's not a theme or anything.
No.
No, we can handle it with 4 sisters.
Yeah. So we lost a brown, a green, and a blue to captivity.
Oh, I thought that was a gray.
Oh, was it?
Color's hard. Who knows? The blue was obvious, but the gray brown could have been either one of those.
The green was obvious too. But yeah, those two died, and then the blue one represents Maigan.
Maigan becomes Sita, right? Or what's her?
It's not Sita.
Damani name?
I don't remember.
Rena and
Pura?
Sita, and then Rima. Oh no,
I think it's Pura. All right, so back to Egwene, who's looking rough and is still trying to take the collar off despite knowing it's hopeless. Oh, Maigan becomes Mylan. Yeah, you're right, Vuji. It's Mylan. History of the Adom time.
Yep. So yeah, story pretty much. They don't get the line though. She screamed when the Adom was put around her neck, which I think is one of the more effective lines.
Her screams shook the Tower of Ravens. All right. Undermining the Eyes to Die. They want to curb your power and curtail you.
Basically, yeah. We'll teach you how to fight, whereas they're just teaching you how to do like little parlor tricks that starts her multiple lines of training, right? She learns from all the different channeling groups.
Yeah. Ugh. You are not a woman. You are a demone.
You're a weapon.
I hope they told you at the White Tower how special you are. And the way that Egwene for 1 second is like, no, they never did. And I actually like you for telling me that. I wanted to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
She needed to hear that.
She did. And that's why she's amenable to taking instruction for the next few moments and getting into this tree burning situation, which is a riff off of what happens in the books. She describes hating making trees explode, but this is a more specific one tree getting exploded. It's different. So she gets to embrace the source because Rena wills it.
Yeah, and we're seeing the sort of the connection, the leash that's not a leash.
Yeah.
It's not a leash, but it's not a leash.
It's a leash.
So yeah, and then another training montage, right? Like Rand and Egwene getting very parallel, like one little bits of, and I guess that's just how they're going to do it in the show is you get one bit of advice and that levels you up to the next level, right?
Especially for us as the audience, if they can show us male and female, it's going to be a big level up for our knowledge as observers.
Mm-hmm.
So she just kind of follows the instructions without really thinking about what's going to happen until it's too late, I think.
Right. Because she doesn't want to burn the tree. But...
No.
And, if you can burn a tree, you can burn a person.
Yeah. The music paired with the fire tornado, it's amazing. And the way they're breathing together, because they're, like, linked through the power, like, ugh.
And the excitement and the adrenaline and...
And Rena is leaning hard on this. We have an affinity. We're working so well together. And Egwene's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I hate you.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm doing this. It's not you. It's me.
And then Rena tries to like basically trick her into seeing her as a friend, but being like, here, just like pour yourself some water. Like, you don't want to I'm your friend. You wouldn't use that. We
work together. You don't want to hurt me.
Exactly. Yeah. We work together now. We're partners. Rena wants nothing so much as for Egwene to see her as a partner.
Right.
And when she can't, she takes it out on her in a way that is very, very...
very vicious.
It's abusive marriage tactics, right? Like, this is like domestic abuse. Like, you didn't play by the rules, so my eyes are going to change, and I'm just going to start kicking the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Like, the way that the actor's eyes change. Just, please be less talented, sir. Please cease being so talented.
She's like, I tried and you didn't listen. It's your fault. You failed my training.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hurt you for not listening to me.
Also, I'm going to have to hurt you for wanting to hurt me, right? She knows what that means, right? You want to hurt me, and I'm angry about that because I thought we were becoming friends. So there's a betrayal of friendship in there as well, even though there's a power dynamic.
And there's never any friendship. Like,
no, of course
she's
not.
On a leash, you bitch.
It's the same way someone in like a boss-employee relationship is like, the boss gets all offended if the employee like runs away, or I don't know, like there's a power imbalance, right? So you can't, as the boss in a relationship with your employee, then be like, oh my god, I can't believe they thought there was a power imbalance. It's like, yeah, of course there is. You can fire them at any time.
Yeah, no, it's the slave owners being surprised that their slaves would choose freedom when it's offered,
right.
Or would
but
run
I treat
away.
You so well. I give you...
Yeah, can't understand.
I give you treats on 6th day.
Exactly.
And,
it's that.
You get privileges and, yeah, that sort of thing.
And when you don't do what I want, I do beat the shit out of you and lock you in a dark cell. But, like, surely you'll forgive me when I give you fucking treats. Like, and also you can tell from the way that Rena storms out of the room. Like, I think there's a grade writing on this. Maybe it's just because I've been reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I really feel like this is her, like, exit exam from college. And she is just desperately trying to get this final project in line before the due date.
Well, there are many more Suldam than Damani, right? So, and as a young Suldam, this feels like, hey, can you handle your first one? If you can, you might get more. If you can't, you may never get another shot.
Right, and Suroth says to Leandrin, like, they train for years before they're allowed to do this. And we know that not being able to channel when you're a channeler is sort of like torture. And we know that Suldam are half-trained channelers, so it makes sense that one...
They crave being complete. They crave being in a loop with a channeler.
Exactly, and if you're denied that for years... unless you pass your exam, which only comes around once a decade because you all live forever. Like, oof.
All right. So back to Nynaeve and Elaine, who... Nynaeve, I think, is saying basically one of us needs to go back to the Amaryllis and tell her what's going on. And Elaine's saying, no, all three of us are going to go back because we're going to rescue. Of course, the optimist versus the pessimist. Or the optimist versus the realist is what I should say.
Oh, yeah. And Elaine points out that this is the first time Nynaeve has called her daughter heir instead of princess. When you want something from me, you give me respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then she asks, why are you doing this? And Elaine says, I've never had a friend. I'm protecting my friend, my one and only friend.
Yeah. I never got the feeling that Elaine had trouble making friends.
Very different from book Elaine. Yeah, she's been kept cloistered in the show in a way that she wasn't in the books. Okay, so Matt and Rand catching up. And yeah, I love this. This is a relationship building scene. I need more of these. This is really, really good.
Right.
This is really good. Seeing them talk.
Just catching up and giving a summary about what happened to both of them.
Having an emotional moment.
Yeah. I'd like to see Matt explain what he's been up to a little bit.
This whole we're not better off without you. No, we're not better off without you. Like,
Which, and I feel like is a little bit meta because we are missing our Matt from season 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there definitely felt like a little bit of meta commentary. Like,
just like, we're not necessarily better off without that Matt, right? Like, I don't know. I feel bad that we lost Matt in season 1. And I don't know why. I don't know what the deal was. Like, we've never heard anything of any credibility as to why.
Yeah, I've heard nothing. I'm glad we got Donal, but like we still don't know why we had to get Donal.
Rand's dilemma. They want me to go, but if I don't go, she dies, which is how they're convincing me to go.
Well, Rand's not known for making good decisions when his people are in danger. Yeah, so Matt says, I just have to go say goodbye to my companion, and then I'll be with you. It's going to be great.
Which is Min. I would love to have seen a meeting between Min and Rand here, and him be a little besotted, right?
Oh my god, I have to go grab my traveling companion so the three of us can go rescue Egwene.
Right.
I would have been super into that. So then we meet Min, who is doing her best to get blackout drunk.
Looks like fun.
No, it doesn't. I hate being blackout drunk, and she looks miserable.
That was sarcasm.
Mini Min.
I love is just like the little ADHD play with the bells while he's waiting. That little like constant little twitching he's got going on. He's got to mess with stuff. He can't just not mess with stuff.
So he goes to quote unquote break her heart, and he ends up getting his heart broken. It's all very platonic, but very intense.
Yeah, because she tells him about the stabbing, right?
Yeah, she consigns herself to having her curse forever by betraying the plan and saying, I saw things, and he doesn't want to hear it. And he's like, you can't, she's like, you can't go. And he figures out that she's the reason that he's even here in the first place. It's the whole thing unravels so fast.
She's like, I didn't say his name. And she totally is letting it all slip because she's too drunk to keep her story straight.
Well, because she doesn't want, she doesn't want to hurt him. She doesn't want to betray him. Like, she's drunk. She's in a corner.
And he's realizing that she's been setting, which, again, really don't like what they're doing with Min here. Min was such a pure soul who literally just wanted to help. And turning into this, like, person who wants to get rid of her, is willing to do anything to get rid of her vision. It's killing me.
Yeah, forcing her into the role of reluctant conspirator, betraying people and down in the dumps. Don't love it.
The fact that she's wearing her ring everywhere makes me wonder if she sort of in the back of her head doesn't think she's totally done with the power. Or if it's just a ruse to try and, like, make people think she's still Aes Sedai.
I think it's that. I think she truly believes that she's never going to channel again.
Letter to Anaya, the head of the Blue.
And then she comes in to apologize to Barthanes. I'm not sure why.
Oh, because I think her sister kind of got through to her. Like, we saw that scene with her sister yelling at her, and it was like, yeah, okay. Also, she needs something from them, so she has to make nice.
Mm-hmm. And he gives her a really long hug. Really long. Very demonstrative for a Kyrianan.
We don't do that.
Exactly.
Except on one night.
It's like British people. So then Anver comes in being like, so the Amerlin's here for you? Awkward.
Mm-hmm. Specifically.
And then she comes out of her carriage with just the coolest headdress.
And you got a lot of sort of who's who of Aes Sedai there, right? You've got...
She brought 14 Aes Sedai with her, so that's everyone we've met and then some.
And this very much feels like Suan and her delegation in the Borderlands.
In Faldara.
in Faldara,
Yeah.
right? Like, that to me is sort of where they're pulling a lot of this from.
Yeah, she doesn't travel with such a huge retinue usually.
Her hat. You gotta have a fancy
She's
hat.
the Pope. Are you even the Pope if you don't have a fancy hat?
That carriage is reminiscent of the Pope Mobile in a lot of ways. Yeah, and the hat's very there's a lot of Vatican images around the Aes Sedai, which is totally accurate, right? Like, I'm surprised they don't burn, for different colored smoke when they pick the new Amerlin seat.
Yeah.
Cutting back to Rand.
Deciding that Matt's not going to go. But Matt watches Rand decide he's not coming. And he has the most hurt puppy look on his face. It's just, ugh.
Don't like this moment. Wish Matt would go with him.
Yeah. Yeah, but she just said, fuck it. I'll deal with that when it comes to it. But then it becomes moot because Lan pops up and is like, you're being summoned to the Amerlin seat, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that Matt was going to end up like busting him out because he'd been left behind and then trailed him. Like, that's where I thought that was going to go. I was very waiting for trickster Matt to be like, yeah, but alas.
Would also love to see Alana have bonded him in that moment to like control him.
Oh God. No, it's too soon. Way too soon.
Yeah, okay.
That's going to be a real slow burn on that one. They want to tease us for another 2 seasons.
Maybe, I don't know. Alana's got to do something next season.
That's true. It'll probably be that.
Yeah.
All right, so back to Egwene. So yeah, then we get your quintessential prison montage of the prisoner walking around the room in time lapse.
Fading in and out, all the different places, them just wandering.
Time is passing, and it sucks. They're continuing to work on the Adom.
Yeah.
And they ask Nynaeve to please participate, thus sealing Rima's death. Or
right.
imprisonment, rather. But we get a cool discussion here from one healer to another, and Nynaeve's actually getting respect from a yellow Aes Sedai, and that matters a lot.
And that's a good analogy. You don't decide to help somebody as a doctor, you just help them.
Right, and like it's a different way of approaching the power than Logain told Rand, so that's nice, too.
It's kind of the only way that like working out has ever worked for me. I can never decide to work out. I always just have to do it. I have to be like, okay, this when I get up in the morning and I want to go for a swim or a run or do something, I have to not make it a decision of like, do I get up and go? It's like, no, I made that decision already. I just have to implement it.
Yeah, it's just follow through.
Not that I'm successful at doing that now.
But I know what you mean. It's a mental trick to be like, no, the decision is in the past. I'm not making the decision. I'm simply doing the decision.
Because if you are making the decision, you can decide not to do it.
It's one of the terrible things about being an adult.
When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to grow up and be an adult because then I could sleep all day, eat ice cream for breakfast, and never go anywhere I didn't want to. And then I realized that's just being depressed.
Oh.
Don't have to brush my teeth if I don't want to. And I'm just like, oh, wow. All those things that you need to do with your adult because, like, that's how you survive in life and not be horribly depressed with yourself.
All right, so we get the insight that the Adom is incomplete unless it's attached to a woman, and that's why it's so hard to open.
Which is like the way they talk about the Suldam needing to be complete by creating a link, right? This is the link without people in it. And then this scene is just like the tragic sacrifice to save the younger people. I think it's really well done. Yeah,
it's very quintessential. You know, I'm going to entrust you with the information. You have to get the information and yourself out at all costs. Like, and she gives her the ring too. So now they've got rings for their subterfuge for the rest of the plots of them never going back to the tower for proper training.
Yeah, I really hope they don't go back.
They've got the rings to not go back now. They've got a yellow and a green. That's what they need.
Right. And a blue for Elaine. Or Gwen, sorry.
And then the thing about this also is that it reminds me of Karenni sacrificing herself for Moraine and Leandrin in season 1. The younger women, the older woman sacrificing herself for the younger women. Though in this case, it's literal trainees instead of fellow sisters. All right, so back to Egwene. And she is super dehydrated.
There are 4 lights! Okay, if you get that reference, you may be a Trekkie.
So yeah, Egwene is getting real fucked up in the head from dehydration and pain and isolation, but she still can't make herself think of the pitcher as anything but a weapon. And Rima's doing the super dead-eyed, pour the water, Egwene. Ugh.
I can't do that, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh, God, I just watched that movie the other day. I hated it so much.
Really?
I hated it. Oh, my God.
Okay. Pausing Wheel of Time. What about 2001, A Space Odyssey, one of the best, most classic, foundational movies which changed cinema for the rest of time, did you not like?
How much time do we have? If you know, you know, and I don't need to explain further.
Just okay. Well, the question is, all right. Back to the wheel. Speaking
Back
of,
to Wheel
let's
of
go
Time.
back to the Wheel of Time, and I'm assuming that entire conversation is getting cut and or put at the end of the episode. So
Yeah, that's an after credits convo for sure. All right, so Miri, the freaky Damani, shows up. Ensuing mob panic, runs away.
This is basically a showdown in the Wild
Yeah,
West,
yeah,
right? You know?
Yeah, it's when all the
like expecting that.
all the cowboys ride in, shooting guns into the air, and all the townspeople clear out. So we can have a showdown, and it's a good showdown. It is a badass, excellent showdown.
Really great fight. Love the way the Warders and the Aes Sedai work together. I think that's one of the best things the show has done that's not really in the books.
Yeah. It reminds me of Land and Moraine in the Two Rivers, the way that they dance together. It's I love that part of the show, getting to see their relationship. All right, so we pair this showdown with Egwene getting broken. It's really intense because this is the Hope is Lost episode. Oh yeah, the using disease. Ugh.
Was that what that was?
Either that or burns.
Yeah, but it didn't look like water. It looked like spirit and like air.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like burning, or it was an illness.
Yeah. So then she hangs Egwene up by the collar. So again, this is happening at the same time. She's hanging Egwene up by the collar, and she's choking just physically on the collar, right? There's no power being used.
This is
point.
how Egwene will kill her at the end. Is just gravity. It's like they have that spike on the wall specifically for this.
Yeah, no, it does seem to be there for that. Oh, Rima takes an arrow.
Which distracts him, so he gets cut. That's how it all starts to come down. And then we've got Nynaeve and Elaine bonding through the trauma of having to watch it all silently.
And do nothing.
Yeah. Egwene gets lectured on nothing exists outside of this situation. And it's such a good... The psychological and physical torture are paired very effectively.
They're like, you will believe.
This is what you have to convince yourself of. And he hesitates just too long before killing her, so she gets captured instead of killed. It's very unfortunate.
But I understand why. He doesn't feel like he can kill her, right?
Yeah, no, he hesitated because that's the hardest thing you can possibly have to do. And then she turns this one Suldam into a fucking rag doll.
Just pretzels.
It's amazing. Just like swirling her around like a... Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's amazing. Notice how Rena doesn't even bother to use the power. She uses her own hands to do that to Egwene.
Can she even use the power at this point? Can she force Egwene to use the power? I don't know.
I guess I don't know.
That does feel different. It feels like you need a certain amount of Suldam cooperation.
Yeah, maybe. You will never leave me. Again, it's just like there's so much domestic violence, like overtones to this.
This relationship of like...
You can never leave me. Like that dependency of like, you exist at my will. Ugh.
The way she reaches out with the fear of pain and then grasps it, and that's almost more of a defeat than getting...
Yeah, the way her chin trembles in defeat. Because she's like, wait, I've been broken?
Yep. She like needs the water.
Like she didn't know she was broken,
yep.
Right? But she's able to...
Yeah, the evidence, oh yeah. The victory of being able to drink water, the defeat of being broken.
Yeah, she's like, I can do the thing I've been trying to do, but also fuck. And the way she's like pouring the water gently and like trying not to just cry. And then without breaking eye contact, just pours the water out. And the way her face is so defeated.
It's like, you're still going to suffer. You're still not going to get the water you want right away.
Well, and like everything that you did, all of that was for nothing. all of that pain, all that suffering, so I could pour it on the ground. And then she says, good girl, and just walks out. And it's like, So then Egwene focuses first on drinking water because she's literally super dehydrated. And then she lets loose just the most soul-curdling scream.
It's the you were broken. I gave everything I had. That was all my strength, and they broke me.
Yeah. It's absolutely agonizing, and I ugly cry every time.
But then the Megan consoling her, right? You lasted longer than I did. Like that victory, that utter defeat to then utter victory of like...
Yeah. Again, her face right here.
The holy shit, I outlasted a sitter?
Like, I outlasted the highest ranked Aes Sedai to be captured. Like...
Yeah.
Like, oh, I actually can do anything. I actually can kill that bitch. I am broken, but I'm not broken. Like,
that was like broken and repaired almost instantly.
Yeah, it's just
with something stronger.
Maddie, oh God, why are you so talented? It's just
really, really
like,
good.
I'm marked not safe from episode 6. Not okay.
I am kind of sad that the rest of the season doesn't live up to the first 6 episodes, in my opinion. I think the next 2 episodes definitely just failed to hold up.
I would agree with that.
There are things and there are plot lines I didn't necessarily like about the rest of the season, but at the end I was just like, what are you doing? Like, you're giving us stuff you didn't set up, you're not paying off things you did set up, like, and you're really altering the books in a way that I don't like.
Yeah, I really, really liked this episode. It was so good, so watertight. And then the next 2 just don't continue that feeling.
Yep.
Though I will say, of all the things that happen in the next 2 episodes, I feel like Egwene's plotline is one of the things I really did get a lot out of. Like, the power, the momentum created here does carry her plotline, but it doesn't carry the subsequent episodes entirely, just her part of it.
And that's, if I had to say anything, I would say this season feels like an Egwene season more than anything else, right? It's her dealing with Nynaeve's disappearance. It's like, even when Nynaeve disappears, it's her dealing with it. It's her dealing with Rand being attacked by Ishamael. It's her dealing with the kidnapping, right? Like, everything seems to be at Egwene's plot and character development service.
I mean, even what Rand does is entirely driven by Egwene. The first half of the season, he's hiding himself away broadly. The second half, he's trying to save her specifically. It's, yeah, you're right. It is all... Egwene is the ground zero to Viren of the writing this season.
Mm-hmm.
Vuji in chat. Practicing human origami on stool doms is the objectively correct way to treat them.
You were a soul dom, now you're a boat.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely, there are things I enjoy about the upcoming episodes, but yeah, this is the end of the almost uncritical, well, I won't say almost. This is the end of us being super into it, and next 2 episodes, we're going to be finding the parts we like and trying to not get too stuck on the parts we don't like.
But I am coming away from this rewatch going, okay, there's a real possibility that in 2 or 3 more seasons, we have a lot of people reading the books because this is a very good show that people are into. And we'll be able to recommend it and be like, yeah, first season got a little rough. Second season, last 2 episodes may not be as good as the rest of it. But man, that show really takes off, and it's, it's just fun, especially if you haven't read the books. Like, I'm really hoping that we have this show as a backstop to recommend to people and be like, yeah, the show's good and definitely worth watching, but you should totally read the books.
I mean, it depends on why people like the show. If people like the show for the strong queer women, then they shouldn't read the books. Like, if that's what you're into it for, is the queer representation, you're not going to enjoy the books. If you're into it for the giant world and the epic sweeping struggle, then yeah, totally. But if you're in it for queer rep, you can be disappointed.
Okay, but that's just a tiny portion of the show, right? Like, it's there.
Not according to the people who are watching it and responding to it.
I would also argue that it is something to read the books about, because the books do have queer representation, not to the extent that we would like, and certainly not to the but like, my God, I am reading so much fantasy and sci-fi out there, and it's shit. There's terrible representation, and Wheel of Time still holds up better than a lot of the crap that I'm reading from new authors today.
Yeah, I'm telling you, as a queer person on the internet, that a lot of queer people are seeing the show and seeing a whole lot of queer rep, and then are picking up the books and going, what the fuck, I was lied to. This is a very real reality. There is not good queer rep in the books. If you want to read strong women being queer and having their own arcs, and you pick up Eye of the World and it is Rand, the whole ass book, it's a disappointment. Like, we have to be realistic about why people are enjoying the show. Some of them are not going to be good book candidates. A lot of them will be, but you gotta screen out the people who are going to hate it, because that's not what they're enjoying about the show.
Well, of course, there's going to be, because they've made so many changes from the books to the show. If you're enjoying the show, there's always got to be that is significantly different.
This isn't about story adaptations. This is about the queer representation. It's very different. It's very different. There are some people who should not be guided to the books on the basis of what they love about the show.
I think you can with an asterisk.
That's all I'm saying, is you got to put that asterisk out there.
Right. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, you have to be able to say the show is different from the books. If you like the show, asterisk, you should read the books. Understanding there are things that are different, and that includes the depth and the reality of the, but I guess I'm coming to the point where I'm still reading stuff coming out that is actively hostile to queer people. Like,
on that note, Consort of Fire by Kit Rocha came out today, and it is, quote, a primal scream of queer joy. You can all go pick it up at any booksellers. Please go do that. She's my friend. Yeah, if you're picking bad authors, that's unfortunate.
I'm picking popular authors.
As I said, unfortunate. It's almost like our popular zeitgeist is full of trash, so that way we're divided and unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, diversify your media and find things that are good and have critical lenses. General broad advice, even outside of fiction.
Okay. Well, the question is, because there's a couple of things that turn people off, right, in that movie, right? There's the lack of dialogue, the fact that it has no satisfying ending whatsoever that doesn't really make sense, and is essentially really only good if you're on shrooms or LSD.
The thought of being high while watching that movie gives me fucking hives.
Fair enough.
That would
be
the creepiest, most uncomfortable trip ever. Ugh.
So my question is, like, which aspect of it really turned you off?
The glacial pacing definitely hurt. But what pissed me off more was that there was never an explanation. There was never a resolution to what the fuck the cube had to do with anything.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely aided by reading the books. I feel like there's a lot more is explained in the books, although it is still somewhat absurd, but like, yeah, I definitely prefer watching that movie having read the book for the kind of context.
Yeah, I think I just will never read the book out of spite for how bad the movie is. Like, there was so much potential, and then and the thought of, you should watch it high. No, you should not watch it high. You will have such a bad time if you watch that while tripping on psychedelics. Do not do that. Like, it made no sense. There was no resolution, and they took forever to get to that lack of a resolution. Like,
the movie to me is much more like watching a very slow sunset than fireworks, if that makes sense. I think it's pretty. I think it's gorgeous. It is incredibly slow.
Pretty?
I think the visuals are incredible. Yeah. Again, you have to know what was being made. This is before Star Wars.
I did appreciate, yes, the effects were impressive in that regard.
This is before the Apollo missions. You have to understand, 2001: A Space Odyssey was filmed before anyone had ever been in space.
That was part of why I was watching it. I was looking for weird old sci-fi, and that was part of the appeal. Was before spaceflight, what did we think spaceflight would look like?
And they nailed it in a way that nothing else of that time comes even close.
Sure.
Like, the space shuttle basically is a whole concept that didn't exist.
Being good at imagining things doesn't make you good at storytelling. Like, the rectangles never showed up again. The whole point was to find the rectangles. The whole point was that the rectangles spark humans to do shit and change, and then there were no more rectangles.
Oh, there is a rectangle at the end.
Oh, right, yes. There's
It's
the
the size
rectangle
of
at the
Jupiter.
end, and it brings you back to Earth as a baby. That's the point. Like,
so that's where the context of the book comes into play, because it tells you more about exactly what's happening in that moment. And it is a very metaphysical moment, and I don't think they could really portray it on screen in a way that makes sense. So they just went with a drug trip and a metaphysical baby for basically the creation of life and the evolution of humans into metahumans, right? The idea is he goes out, he finds, people get to the extent of tool use, right? Because there's monkeys, then we use tools, and everything from the beginning of tool use to the beginning of the movie is, right, that's where tool use gets us. We're tool using primates. And then tool use gets us out to Jupiter, where they encounter the next monolith, and he ascends to become the next evolution of human, which is a metahuman, this sort of creation, this baby that is the birth of the next kind of human.
and so why was Hal trying to sabotage everything? The fuck did Hal have to do to sabotage shit?
Hal was badly programmed. Hal was essentially, the government went in and said, all right, Hal, you have to tell the truth no matter what. That's part of your programming. But also, you have data that you are hiding from your astronauts. And that contradiction makes Hal go insane. So it's the government, basically bureaucrats fucking with Hal's mind, causes him to go completely insane.
Yeah, that did not come through in the 7 lines
No,
of dialogue
that's not in
that were in the movie.
in the fucking, no, it's not in the movie at
Okay.
all. I mean, it is. There is like one line of dialogue that you can, if you know that that's what that's referencing, right? But like, yeah, essentially Hal is a lesson about government lying and government overreach and how secrets will essentially kill you all.
Well, I will not be watching it again, sober or high.
Fair.
I have done my duty to the sci-fi gods by watching it.
But there's a lot of meaning in it, and I think people do enjoy studying it in that way because of I don't even want to go into it because there's people who know the movie better than I do can defend it better than I can. That being said, yes, I have tried to show it to people and they find it incredibly boring, and it makes me sad. And the special effects just aren't anything special anymore. They used to be.
Yeah, they're nothing now. They're like the worst kind of knockoff screensaver now.
But a lot of modern cinema looks the way it does because of that movie. Star Wars looks the way it does because of that movie.
I'm impressed at how far we've come.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?